Alright everyone, first of all I want to apologize for basically not really putting anything out for like almost a month. I think I might have done some streamings but not like actual videos. I'll be honest with you, I just wanted to just take a little break from it, not like in a quit type of way, just a break. You know, I was just busy at work, things like that, and honestly I just wanted to step away from it and come back in all fresh. So I'm pretty much all fresh now, which is good. But I have my laptop here. This is a Lenovo ideapad S210 Touch. And you know, it's a pretty good laptop. It's kind of a ultra laptop type of thing. There's no DVD drive or anything like that. In terms of the ports, you got a USB 3, HDMI out, Ethernet port there. The other side is a memory card slot right there, headphone jack with a microphone, USB 2, and the power plug. And that's pretty much it for your connections. Of course there's Bluetooth in this, but in terms of physical ports, that's what it has. When I got this laptop though, I did upgrade pretty much the same day to a SSD drive, because the last laptop I had SSD in it. That died, of course, so I got this. My desktop computer uses SSDs. Honestly, it's just too hard to go back to computers that uses spinning drives, because you can just tell there's just some sluggishness to it. Doesn't matter how good the hardware is, if the hard drive you're using is holding everything back, then it's still going to feel sluggish. But what I am going to do is upgrade the RAM. Stock, this comes with 4 gigs. There's only one slot in here, so I can only put one card in it. So I'm going to max it out to 8 gigs, which is the highest this laptop supports. Now, of course, I could do some benchmarks, which I might actually do that first. But basically, in order to take this laptop apart, flip this over. You got some, of course, you take the battery out. There's some screws, and then you just unclip some stuff, and then it just pops out, and it reveals everything. So the RAM, hard drive, the fan where the processor and GPU's at, and all that good stuff. But yeah, this is a light. It's kind of a light duty type of laptop, but the way I personally look at laptops is for me, they're not really a desktop replacement, because it doesn't matter how good of a laptop you get, for the same amount of money that you spend on the laptop, you can get a more powerful desktop computer. So I look at laptops like an extension. But of course, if I'm able to make it more powerful, I'm going to do that. So that's what I'm going to do today, is upgrade the RAM in this. And I'm also going to experiment something with my desktop computer that I never done before. But that will be in a later video. But anyway, let's get to it and upgrade the RAM in this. Now, of course, before I start taking this apart, I just wanted to demo something here on how awesome it is for a computer to run SSD. So I'm going to turn on the power. And the computer's booted up. No joke. See, it's all ready to go. And yes, this laptop is running Windows 10. But yeah, I think what I might do actually is run a benchmark real quick, then upgrade the RAM, and then do another benchmark and see if doubling the RAM in this laptop is really worth it. Now, of course, there are some good things about upgrading the RAM, because the job I do, I use video editing software. So I basically put videos together at my job now. So what I've been doing as a hobby for several years. I'm actually doing this as a job now. Not for like entertainment purposes, more like on the legal side of things, but nonetheless, that's what I'm doing. So stuff like that, having more RAM in computers, especially the computers I use, is very important. And I started running certain softwares on this laptop, and I noticed that okay, there are some areas where this computer is actually running pretty sluggish. Not really for the processor or for the hard drive or anything like that. It's because there's just not enough RAM in this. 4 gigs of RAM, honestly, in 2015, is kind of the bare minimum. That's something you should expect, nothing lower. Let's just put it that way. So I'm going to do a quick benchmark on this, and I'll get back to you. Alright everyone, so I just found a benchmarking software on the Microsoft Store on the laptop, and I found this PC benchmark. Seems average, I guess. But, again, this is not really a gaming laptop, so I don't really need a version designed for gaming. But let me go ahead and zoom in a little. So let's go ahead and let's just benchmark everything. And it's getting out of focus. Okay. So right now it's doing the disks test, which is the SSD, which honestly from this benchmark it should pass with pretty much flying colors, because I do have a very good SSD in here. It's a Samsung 850. I think it's the middle range version. I don't really remember how many versions they have, but it's not like the top tier version. Mainly because it would have been a waste of money, because this laptop wouldn't support the faster speed anyway, so there was no need to in this case. And that's something you have to keep in mind, is that yes, even though you think it's like, oh, I can get this particular component, it can go up to this speed, it supports up to this speed, so the computer should be able to handle it. Well, not necessarily. If your computer is only able to support up to this amount, then buying something that exceeds it for more money is really just wasting money. Unless you're going to buy it intending on future-proofing, but by the time... Here's the thing though, when it comes to computers in general, especially computer components, by the time you actually do a full upgrade, there will be better stuff in the market by then for either the same price or cheaper. Alright, so it looks like I completed the test here, so let's take a look. So yeah, pretty good. At least I got the speed of the RAM and everything. Alright. Alright, so now that I got the information I need from it, let's go ahead and change out the RAM. Now, of course, when you're going to open up either your desktop computer or even a laptop, first of all, make sure you turn off the computer fully. Okay? I know that seems dumb, but you'd be surprised how many people don't actually know that. Second of all, especially with a laptop, take the battery out. Now, just for size comparison, look how tiny this battery is. Yeah, this is not exactly a long-lasting battery life for this. They do sell a version that's actually higher capacity in the same, I believe, in the same form factor that will get better battery life, but this is the small one. Alright, so let's go ahead and start taking this thing apart. Now, of course, you're going to need a regular size, well, a small screwdriver. I have this little iFixit tools kit that basically has everything I need. Alright, that's what I'm going to need there. And I also have one of these little splurgers. I think that's how they call these, splurges. They're basically, it's made out of plastic, but the plastic is soft enough that it'll damage this, but not your actual item that you're trying to take apart, which is the whole idea. Now, unfortunately, right now, I have another project going that I'm kind of using. I actually have a special bowl that's magnetic that I usually use that to keep the screws in, but I'm kind of using that at the moment. So I'm going to do the old-fashioned way and just put it to the side and just remember exactly where they went. Not ideal, but I pretty much know where all this stuff goes. This is not exactly a difficult laptop to take apart. But you do have to keep in mind that these are tiny little screws. And here's another little tip. If you are going to be upgrading a laptop, if you're going to upgrade the RAM, if you think you're going to be upgrading the hard drive in the future, I would honestly do it all at once. Any type of because laptops aren't really designed to be taken apart. You know, unlike a desktop where, you know, it's very upgradable and everything, laptops aren't really designed that way. Alright, now with this particular laptop, there are two other screws underneath these little rubber feet. And those are different size screws. These are a little different, so I'm just going to put those in a different area because the other screws are all the same size, but these particular ones are slightly different. There we go. Now, if I remember correctly, I pretty much got all the screws. Now here comes the pain in the ass part, and that is unsnapping this. That's where this thing comes in. Now, if I remember correctly, going from the front was easier. So, what you kind of want to do is get your little tool in there. Sometimes actually holding it up makes it a little bit easier. There we go. Of course, once you get the snapping going, for the most part, it should come out pretty easy, but of course, I remember this part here kind of being a pain in the ass. Mainly for this area here. There we go. All right. Now you can actually see exactly which hard drive I have in here, which is a Samsung SSD 850 EVO 250 gig hard drive. And here's the RAM. And this is a 4 gig. So like I said earlier, it's always better to do this in one go, because in this particular case you got access to the hard drive, there's the RAM. In this particular laptop it is only one slot, which is why you can only go up to 8 gigs. So now that we have access to the RAM, here's my replacement one. Of course, you would just do that, and this just comes out. I'm just looking at the speed on this thing. Now it's also a good idea just to double check is the pins and where the slot is at on it, just to double check before you actually do fully commit. So anyway, let's go ahead and get this one out. All you do is slide in on the angle, make sure it's in, and then pop it in, and you're done. That's all it takes. Then when you are done with that, you can go ahead and just start snapping this back together. Alright, so I'm going to do a jump cut because I don't think you guys want to watch me screw this back in, so jump cut. And the last screw. By the way, one more thing. Keep in mind that these are tiny little screws, and you don't want to over tighten them. This is not really designed to really over tighten. Remember, most of this stuff, most of the laptops are made out of plastic, so that's something you want to keep in mind. Alright, so all the screws are back on. So now this has 8 gigs of RAM, and I'm just going to go ahead. I only use that cloth just to protect the finish, just so I don't scratch it. Alright. Now, let's go ahead and turn this on. Let's see if there's a difference in boot up time. I don't think so, but we'll see what happens. So it did boot up just fine. Of course, I'm not going to show you my password for obvious reasons. But yeah, this laptop now has 8 gigs of RAM. And just to make sure, I just want to double check. Yep, 8 gigs. 7.89 gigabytes usable, just to be exact. But yeah, this computer now is essentially fully maxed out. You can't really do much more on this, besides buying an actual new laptop. But what I will do is do another benchmark. Now, of course, I actually do see the results on here. Now, for the speed is 988.93. Let's just do another benchmark and see if there is actually a difference. Actually, you know what? I'll just do a jump cut here. Alright, the test is over. Now, I'm only really focusing on the RAM itself. But I'm also going over some other stuff on here. So I'm just going to try to match up these here. Let's see, GPU test. It's pretty much the same. CPU. Pretty almost identical. Disk speed, it's fairly identical, but it seems like the disk speed was a little bit faster now because of the RAM, but the RAM actually did go up. So the speed, megabits per second, is 1036 now versus 988. Now, that's not really that big of a jump. I wasn't really expecting a big jump. I think that jump is more because there's just more RAM, and when there's more RAM, there's just more room to move around. But yeah, there is a slight performance gain with this. I don't know how well you guys will be able to see that, but I didn't upgrade this for the speed, well, performance boost most of all, but just to get more RAM in this, because I do have video editing software on this laptop now, and I also have GIMP on here to do some like photo editing stuff with it. But yeah, there is a nice little boost now in RAM, which is always good. So I guess I will just do a quick restart real quick, because anytime you add different chips in here, the first time it boots up, it has to register it. But yeah, there it is. Sweet. Anyway, that was me changing the RAM in this thing. This does need a little cleaning though. Anyway, that's it. Like always, have a good one. Like this video, share this, subscribe if you're not a subscriber, all that good stuff. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So like always, have a good one.